There's two things really when you're thinking about provisioning for a long sailing trip. The first one is health related, is you need to keep everybody in good health, so a balanced diet. And the second is morale. When I was in the Navy, we used to say that the second most important person after the commander of the boat was the cook. When you're preparing, the most important thing is to approximate how many number of days your passage will take and have a margin for error. If the wind drops completely, how many extra days you will take. That's going to lead you to a maximum number of days. Then you multiply that by the number of people on board, and that enables you to calculate how many meals you will have to prepare, and also for each ingredient. You can do it with a simple paper list, but you will have to do many iterations. Whereas with the Excel spreadsheet, once you've made your assumptions, if you change the quantity of rice, you can automatically increase the quantity of pasta. Your basic formulas in your spreadsheet are the maximum number of days at sea, number of people on the boat, and how much protein, how much starch, how much vegetable you need per person and per day. And so you multiply number of days, number of crew on the boat, quantity of protein, that gives you the total amount of protein you need to have. Pasta, for example, you will eat 125 grams of pasta per crew and per day. So you take your number of crew, cell B8, multiply by your number of day, 125, which is in your passage data sheet. That gives you 9,000 grams of pasta for your crossing. Then you want to calculate in packs. So packs of pasta are typically 500 grams. So 9,000 divided by 500 gives you 18 packs of pasta that you want to buy. Vegetable is a little bit more complex because you don't find everything in every country. You will have to adapt to your local knowledge of what's available. The easiest way to go about it is to think about meals. So breakfast, lunch, dinner. You're gonna calculate how many breakfast and people you will have. And based on that, you will calculate for one box of Kellogg's cornflakes, for example, how many servings do you have? And you're going to calculate the number of cornflakes boxes you will buy, but you always come down to your Excel spreadsheet based on the number of people and the number of meals. So one part of your spreadsheet is the quantities of raw ingredients you need. The other part, one thing that is very useful is to make menus, and you will cross the two together. There are two different approaches. Some people like to think in terms of quantities of ingredients. Others like to think about meals. You can do both actually. That's what will give you the most pleasure, because you'll have all the quantities you need, and you'll also will have thought about what meals you're gonna do at sea to keep everybody happy. What matters is that at the end you get the same quantities, and end up just take the bigger one, so you won't be starving. But so it's two different approaches. Both are valid. One are quantity based of ingredient. The other one are based on the menus you will make for every day of your crossing. Obviously, it's very important to know if someone in your crew has allergies or special diets. So you will adapt the type of food and quantities based on that information about allergy and special diets. One first thing is what capacity of fridge and freezer you have. which is linked to your capacity of electricity production. So solar, wind vane, hydro vane, we'll have the occasion to talk about that in other videos about the electronics and the electric capacity of your boat. But that's the main constraint, is what's your setup to keep food. If you've got 1 or 2 big freezers, obviously you don't need so much canned food because you can have frozen food. If you don't, if you have just one fridge, then you will rely on a lot of canned food and vacuum packed meal. One of the things I really like is the vacuum packed meal. So that's done by a company called Bombag, which does it for the French solo offshore sailors. It's very convenient because it's all already prepared, it's been vacuum packed, and that lasts for 2 years. So if you don't have a freezer, even if you don't have a fridge, you can use that. It's a balanced diet. Some things are very easy to keep on the boat and give you both starch and proteins. So for example, lentils, beans, they come like lentils are dry, in dry boxes. Beans can be either dry or canned, and they last months and months at sea. So it's very easy to pack, and you don't need a freezer, you don't need anything. You need to have a mix which is going to be based on your fridge and freezer capacity, how easy it is to cook in various conditions. That will lead you to decide how much fresh food you buy, how much canned or frozen or vacuum packed meal you buy. Obviously, for your health, the more fresh food you can take, the better, but it only lasts a certain number of days. Probably the most important thing to take with you is a pressure cooker, because that enables you to cook big quantities fast, so you will use less gas. It's also less dangerous than an open saucepan when the boat is rocking a little bit. So pressure cooker, it's the old technique, but it's really the basis of the utensils you should have on the boat. What's important is for everything on the boat is to have redundancy. So if all your cooking means are electricity based with an electric oven, induction stove, what will happen if you've got a battery failure? So for me, it's important to have 2 systems. One is electrical, the other one is gas. Same thing, you need a freezer, it's very nice, but you shouldn't rely entirely on it, because if your MPPT that transforms the electricity of your solar panel, that sends it into your battery, if your MPPT fails and you can't use your solar panel anymore, chances are you will have to stop using your freezer. So really using the modern technology to add more comfort by using freezers, by using induction, by using a Thermomix, that's fantastic for cooking, a bread machine, that's fantastic, but keeping in mind that things can fail on the boat, so you need redundancy. Good thing is to know where everything is. Not everybody will be packing. Hopefully everybody will cook, but what help keep a good spirit on the boat. So you need to have different spaces allocated to different kind of foods, with the thing that you will need the most need to be the most accessible. One of the things is typically if you keep things under the seats around the table, whenever you want to cook, people that are sitting at the table need to get up, and that after 2 weeks at sea, that tends to create some irritation. So really think about accessibility of your storage. One of the easy way is to buy big boxes, and you will put things in the boxes in an order. So for example, you can have a box for breakfast, and that can be somewhere where it's very easy to access, because typically breakfast people will take right when they wake up, so it needs to be accessible. The other thing to take into account is that things will rot after a certain period, vegetables and fruit. So you need to have the things that will last longer at the back. So you put your tomatoes at the front because they don't last very long, but cabbage or potatoes that will last 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks even for potatoes can be in the box that is at the back of your storage. So you order the food you've bought by type of ingredient, type of meal, and order in which you will use them at sea based on how long they last. You can keep certain things outside, like onions, like fruits can be in nets in your cockpit. One thing to keep in mind, because nowadays most of us have a solar panel at the back of the boat under the davit. Under the solar panel you get a lot of heat, so whatever you will put there will actually rot very quickly. So if you want to be serious, conscientious, you follow your Excel spreadsheet, but you can also do it simply by looking at your boxes. When you see that some of your fresh food is starting to look a little bit too old, it's better to finish it but just to throw it away. To eat in order, what's the most perishable you should eat first. Also eat what's left from your previous meal. You can be creative. I had a crew once who had his special meal was the tout ski in French, meaning tout ski reste, what's left. And that was basically putting together all the rest of your previous meal, adding a little bit of spice, mixing it all together, and he was very creative about making it really good. So that's one strategy, but don't just throw things because they start to look bad, or and accept that you're gonna eat several times in a row the same meal if you've made a big quantity. When you catch a bigger fish, a pelagic fish like a tuna or a mahi-mahi, you're not gonna eat everything in one meal. So if you don't want to waste it, it's nice to keep it in various forms. So you can salt it and dry it. You can cook it and make a canned food for the rest of your crossing. The most common mistake people make is to rely solely on their freezer, because the freezer is very linked to your electrical capacity, production and battery, and you might not have as much sun as you hope, so you might have to shut your freezer down, or your freezer, like everything on the boat, can be a little bit fragile, so it can lose the temperature. So the most common thing is really to rely on one kind of storage. The other mistake people make is that we tend to forget that when you will arrive in a new place, in a new island, you think there will not be food there. That's not true. People eat everywhere. So when you arrive in an island, they will have a grocery shop, they will have fruits and vegetables. So obviously you mustn't rely on buying everything that is in the grocery store, and then the local people don't have anything left for them. But you don't need to provision for 2 years at sea when you're just going to cross an ocean for 3 weeks. Pack some snacks that your crew like for your long night watches. You will need something to keep your morale up. Having great food, having great dinner keeps everybody happy. So really health, balanced diet in keeping everybody happy by cooking good food. Everyone has their own sensitivity to water. In some countries the regulations say that the water from your tank is not drinkable. And in that case you should add a filter to clean the water, charcoal filter for example, or UV filter. It's also good to add minerals to the water that is in your tank that you've produced with your water maker, and you can do that either with a mineralizing filter or just by adding some pills, the one you use when you're running marathons for example, which will add mineral to your water from your water maker, which is completely without salt and any mineral. and or you can buy bottles of water. I don't like it too much because it's plastic most of the time, so I try to go for glass bottle. But in my opinion, you need water for the case where your water maker will stop working. So you must have a certain number of days which you will calculate that you can do without the water maker based on the quantities of bottles you purchased. The other thing is to always keep enough water in your tank so that you can survive if your water maker stops working. And I do this calculation every day. The more water you have in your tank, the heavier your boat will be. So you will have less fun sailing, your boat will go slower. So at the start, obviously, you go with full tanks, and then you calculate how many liters of water do you need to make it to the end of your trip with a safety margin. And you don't need to keep more water than that in your tanks. You will use your water maker for comfort, to produce more water, to take shower, to clean everything on the boat, but you will keep the minimum level that will enable you to survive without being thirsty until the end of your trip.